The Virgin's Journey. Okay, this is an original concept coined by Kate Hudson. Okay, the Virgin's Journey is one of creative, spiritual, and sexual awakening. The journey begins by conforming to society standards. Think about the patriarchal, profane virgin. And they're conforming to the wishes of others. But eventually, the virgin learns to hear her own voice and her inner desires and brings them to life. Here's how it goes. The virgin begins her story in a perfectly good kingdom, which happens to be a little constrictive for the fullness of being that she's destined to be. Okay, she plays a good ingenue, carrying her kingdom's expectations of rightness. Okay, these expectations, however, are not in alignment with her dream and her soul mission, and they might even conflict with it. Okay, in the beginning, the virgin is afraid to go against her community and realize her own dream. However, one day, an opportunity arises where there's the possibility to begin taking a step forward into becoming her dream in secret. She's turned on and illuminated by her first experience taking these steps. And she starts to go back and forth between both worlds, her dream world and society's world. Becoming the dream in the secret world while appeasing society's expectations in the different world, it doesn't feel good, okay? Eventually she no longer fits into either world and she gets caught shining. Okay. I just want to make a little comment. It's not like this isn't a shaming metaphor. It's not like she got caught with her pants down. Okay, she got caught shining. Okay, this is also a crisis moment because these two worlds are coming together and they're like, whoa, we don't know who you are. And a clarity moment in these two worlds comes from their collision. In this moment of clarity, the virgin has the opportunity to give up what's been keeping her stuck and recognize she has the ability to become her dream. The kingdom goes into chaos. Okay, now the virgin does the wandering through the wilderness thing. Okay, she tries to decide, am I going to shrink myself again to make people happy, or am I going to choose to live my dream? She chooses the dream. Okay, she chooses her shining. Okay, she chooses to live in her soul's purpose. Okay, for a time, she loses the protection of her kingdom and of the society, and it's pretty grim. But eventually, the kingdom reorders itself to accommodate the blossoming, radiant virgin. And the kingdom becomes a brighter place to live, or what we're going to call the queendom. The virgin is learning to be self-fulfilling. Her highest purpose is to overcome society's expectations and make choices in her life based on her own values. Okay, she must follow her passion and experience the fullness of her passion and know her desires completely. Her path is about awakening her sexuality and spirituality and using her creativity to make her dreams come true. There's 13 steps to this virgin archetype. There's the realization that you're living in a dependent world and that you're paying a price for the conformity. You see the opportunity to shine. You try out the shining. You create a secret world, but you realize you no longer fit into the other world. You get caught shining. Okay, you have to give up what keeps you stuck. The kingdom goes into chaos. You wander in the wilderness. You choose your light. There's a reordering, and the kingdom is brighter. Let me tell you my virgin story. So I grew up in Tulsa, which is a fairly conservative town in the Bible Belt. And my mother instilled in me some of those old patriarchal values that reputation was everything. I conformed into being this good girl. I was an A student and a performing arts major in college, but then I kind of started exploring goddess-based spirituality, and this moved me then to leave Tulsa, where I began studying yoga. And I also had this beautiful healing experience with naked yoga alone in my living room in New York. And I was inspired to teach it. I did, and I didn't tell my family or people back home. And in New York, I watched others being transformed and healed by this process too, and I was transformed, and I was good at it, and it was my shining. So to dress the part, I created this really vanilla version for my mom in order to share my excitement that I was studying yoga and that I was teaching yoga. I just didn't happen to let her know it was naked yoga. This sort of selective sharing got really awkward, and I felt like I was walking back and forth between these two worlds, and I actually felt like I was in this soul conflict around it. Okay, I decided I wanted to try to solve this sort of conflict I was feeling, so I tentatively told my brother and my sister-in-law, thinking like, oh, this is a first step to letting my family know that I'm teaching naked yoga and that it's really healing. Okay, my brother responded with essentially deciding to tattle to my mom in Tulsa. And my mom then went online and she found my website mentioning my naked yoga classes on philosophy. Okay, my mother probably stopped reading at naked yoga because it was told in a really alarming way to her from my brother, who's like, oh my God, you'll never guess what she's doing. My mom then wrote me an email, and the title of the email said, Tulsa Aghast. And then she asked me to change my name if I was going to keep doing this work. Ouch. Okay. But the shining and the work I was doing and the transformation that I was seeing in others, it was so powerful that I actually decided to change my name and to keep doing the work that I was doing. And I even opened my own yoga studio and started to get interviews internationally about naked yoga. And the BBC came out, and CNN, and Jane Magazine, and Vogue. And it was this really beautiful process that I wasn't quite ready for, but I was in my shining and I was going for it. The kingdom in chaos. My mother and I did not speak for half a year. And some of my friends back from Tulsa reacted with a little bit of shock, but most were generally supportive. And even my father over the holidays, he's like, at first I was really surprised, but then when I thought about it, he's like, what's so wrong with that? Okay. It was a deeply challenging time. I felt this loss of identity and this deep mourning over who I was in Tulsa. I feel like I had lost being a good girl. However, I followed the calling and I opened my own naked yoga studio, and I taught naked yogas in many different states and at festivals, and was interviewed internationally and on TV. And I also heard rumors that a naked yoga class began in Tulsa. And that was true. It was an all men's class. But then this year, a yoga studio in Tulsa called the Be Love Yoga Studio, they reached out to me and they said, hey, would you come teach naked yoga at our studio? Part of me was like, that's pretty cool. And part of me was like, another world colliding. Okay, so that's my story about this revisioned virgin archetype of embracing one's shining.